Europe is descending into poverty. Did you know that? Had someone told you that? So the most advanced continent on the planet, the birthplace of Western civilization, our civilization, is getting much poorer very quickly. It's moving backward at high speed. So the question is, why is it happening? And the answer is extremely simple. There's an energy shortage in Europe. Cheap energy is essential. It is the key to everything that a normal society strives for. Prosperity, safety, a longer life expectancy for its citizens. Everything depends on cheap energy, but Europe no longer has it. And as a result, things are falling apart very quickly.
A third of Europeans are currently in a precarious financial situation. That means they can't afford things like food, travel, clothes. It means they're living in poverty or teetering on the brink of it. Nearly half of Europeans say they can't afford to heat their homes, and 40% of parents have said they can't meet the needs of their children. 1 in 3 skip meals so that they can feed their kids. And almost everyone is scared. Everyone. Lives are being consumed by anxiety. 60% of Europeans are worried about an unexpected expense that could tip them over the edge. Now, big business was already savaging people's lives before Europe's powers decided that a permanent war is better than peace. But that decision has made things worse. The people of Europe are paying for this endless war through a cost of living crisis. What's the point in us wringing our hands if we don't join the dots?
In recent years, a significant and prevalent concern has emerged on the global stage: the growing disparity between the increased cost of living and salaries. This issue is particularly pronounced in Europe, where the cost of living has surged, often outpacing the growth of salaries. This video aims to delve into the various perspectives surrounding this challenge, examining the economic, social, and individual impacts it poses on people across the globe, with a specific focus on Europe. The video concludes with some specific measures to address this disparity.
Ce qui est dingue dans cette Europe, c'est que quand c'est pour trouver de l'argent pour la guerre, on en trouve tout de suite partout. Quand c'est pour filer de l'argent, de la thune aux multinationales, aux banques, aucun problème, on n'en manque jamais. Mais quand c'est pour les gens, pour les travailleurs, alors c'est tranquillou bilou. Hein? Facture impayable, tranquillou bilou. Un taxe injuste, pareil, tranquillou bilou. Mais les gens ne sortent plus la tête de l'eau, il faut s'en rendre compte. Mais vous en rendez pas compte. Monsieur le commissaire, vous gagnez combien par mois? C'est quoi, c'est 25 000 euros par mois? Hein, la présidente de la Commission européenne, 30 000 euros par mois. 30 000 euros. Mais vous avez déconné, hors sol totalement, hein? Je pense qu'il est franchement temps pour vous remettre un peu les pieds sur terre, hein? Qu'un type dans vos salaires pour que vous compreniez à rien de ce que vivent les travailleurs en Europe aujourd'hui, hein? Et que vous changez alors fondamentalement les priorités.
From an economic standpoint, the widening gap between the cost of living and salaries can be attributed to several factors. Firstly, globalization has led to increased interconnectedness, resulting in a more competitive job market.
The last few decades of globalization allowed corporations to scour the planet for the cheapest labor and loosest regulations, devastating the working class. Capital is mobile, and workers less so. Entire industries packed up and abandoned the communities that built them.
While companies expand their operations globally, they often find themselves facing higher operational costs, which are then transferred to consumers. This, in turn, contributes to the rising cost of living. Moreover, rapid technological advancements and automation have transformed industries, altering the skill sets required for many jobs. This shift often leaves certain workers facing the challenge of adapting to new roles, which may not be accompanied by proportional salary increments. Economic inequality becomes more pronounced as skilled workers command higher salaries while those with outdated skill sets face stagnant income. The social implications of the growing disparity between the cost of living and salaries are multifaceted. One prominent consequence is the emergence of a two-tiered society, where a portion of the population enjoys a comfortable standard of living, while others struggle to meet their basic needs. This socio-economic divide can lead to increased social tensions and a sense of alienation among those left behind. Additionally, the cost of living challenges often impact vulnerable populations disproportionately. The younger generation, burdened with student loans and facing precarious job markets, finds it increasingly difficult to establish financial independence. Similarly, the elderly, on fixed pensions, may struggle to keep pace with rising living costs, jeopardizing their quality of life. At the individual level, the strain caused by the widening gap between the cost of living and salaries is palpable. Families may find themselves making difficult choices between essential needs, such as housing, education, and healthcare. As the cost of living escalates, individuals may experience heightened stress and anxiety about their financial stability, impacting their overall well-being. Furthermore, the disparity may discourage individuals from pursuing higher education or investing in personal development, as the promise of improved salaries does not always align with the financial investments required for such endeavors. This perpetuates a cycle where certain segments of the population are unable to break free from economic constraints, limiting their upward mobility.
1 in 4 Europeans are currently living in a precarious financial situation. This means people skipping meals when they're hungry and not turning on the heat when they're cold. If you think it's bad in your member state, spare a thought for the workers in Ireland. Ireland is the most expensive country in the EU for household expenditure on goods and services, with prices 46% above the EU average. In terms of gross market income, Ireland is the most unequal country in the EU. Ireland's top 20% of earners earn 15 times more than the bottom 20% according to Eurostat data. We are repeatedly told by governments and the mainstream media that pay rises lead to more inflation. But there is no law that says pay rises need to be passed on to consumers in the form of price rises. Price increases so that profits can be maintained. Prices increase so that capital increases. Inflation is a function of unequal power relations and is the very essence of capitalism.
Addressing the disparity between the increased cost of living and salaries requires a multifaceted approach involving various stakeholders, including governments, businesses, and civil society. Let us now delve into some specific measures that can be implemented to mitigate this challenge. Governments can implement or enhance further progressive taxation policies, where higher-income individuals and corporations are taxed at higher rates. This can generate revenue that can be redirected towards social welfare programs and initiatives to support those struggling with the increased cost of living. Governments can establish and enforce living wage standards to ensure that workers earn enough to cover their basic needs. This involves setting minimum wage levels that are reflective of the cost of living in different regions, considering factors such as housing, healthcare, and education. To address the impact of technological advancements on job markets, governments and businesses should invest in education and training programs. This can empower workers with the skills needed for emerging industries, reducing unemployment and enhancing overall employability. Governments can implement policies to promote affordable housing, such as offering subsidies, incentivizing the construction of affordable housing units, and regulating rental markets. Access to affordable housing is crucial in mitigating the burden of the cost of living on individuals and families. Affordable and accessible healthcare is essential in reducing the financial strain on individuals. Governments can implement healthcare reforms to ensure universal access, control healthcare costs, and provide financial assistance to those facing medical expenses. Strengthening social safety nets, such as unemployment benefits, food assistance programs, and childcare support, can provide a crucial buffer for individuals and families during periods of economic uncertainty. This helps alleviate the impact of the cost of living on vulnerable populations. Businesses can play a role by adopting fair labor practices, including offering competitive wages, providing benefits, and ensuring reasonable working hours. Corporate social responsibility initiatives can focus on improving the well-being of employees and contributing to community development. Governments and nonprofit organizations can launch initiatives to promote financial literacy. Educating individuals on budgeting, saving, and investing can empower them to make informed financial decisions, helping them navigate the challenges of an increased cost of living. Governments can provide incentives for SMEs, which often form the backbone of economies. This can include tax breaks, access to low-interest loans, and support for innovation, fostering entrepreneurship and job creation. Given the global nature of economic challenges, international cooperation is essential. Countries can collaborate to address issues such as tax evasion, corporate loopholes, and trade imbalances, promoting a more equitable distribution of resources. Equally, the seriousness of the situation is acknowledged by the European Union Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, Nicholas Schmidt.
The overall economic prospects are challenging following the impact of the COVID pandemic, the energy crisis, and finally, the inflation hike. In general terms, indicators on risks of poverty and social exclusion have remained overall stable over the past few years. But as so often, statistics do not tell the whole story. Inflation hits particularly vulnerable households and lower medium income families. Poverty remains acute in Europe, and citizens are quite rightly concerned. To have a serious impact, more structural measures are needed to address poverty and precarious living and working conditions. In-work poverty is also a persisting challenge in the EU, especially for people in non-standard forms of employment, among them many young people and many women, and for non-EU citizens. Therefore, we cannot take our foot off the accelerator. Obviously, we have to combat more effectively unjustified price increases that fuel inflation, and at the same time, vulnerable households need further support, even if this support has to be more targeted. Precariousness, poverty, and social exclusion should have no place in our European Union. Therefore, combating them should be our common priority.
In conclusion, the growing disparity between the increased cost of living and salaries is a complex issue with far-reaching implications. From economic shifts driven by globalization and technological advancements to the social and individual consequences, the challenge requires comprehensive attention. Policymakers, businesses, and societies at large must collaborate to develop solutions, as elaborated above, that address the root causes and mitigate the impact on individuals and communities. Only through collective efforts can we strive towards a more equitable and sustainable balance between the cost of living and salaries, fostering a better future for all. If you found this video overview insightful, we encourage you to express your support by liking, subscribing for updates, and sharing your perspectives. Your involvement contributes to the ongoing dialogue that shapes the trajectory of the large disparity between the cost of living and salaries across the globe. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let your voice resonate. Until our next exploration, thank you so much for your discreet attention.